Are we live? Are we live? If anybody's there, say hey in the comments. Happy Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday Live. I gotta get my broth started, so maybe I'll get that going while we wait for everybody to arrive. And if you can't hear me for some reason, comment. And y'all need to ignore my dish-filled sink. But if you're new here, every Sunday I start out with some broth. So making some good chicken broth. I usually use some chicken thighs and chicken feet and with the skin, so that I can get the most awesome nutrients for hair, skin, nails, and our gut barrier. So let's do that. So I'm putting filtered water in. And I do a short cook broth because that's what's best for people with systemic nickel allergy. And as we're going to talk about today, people who have mast cell activation or are sensitive to histamine, for example, it's really important to work on that gut barrier. And that's the way that nickel gets in. So we want to make that as strong as possible. Actually, let's get a little bit more water. Okay. And then I'm going to add a bunch of salt. And we'll get that boiling. And then after about an hour or two, I do put in some vegetables for the last hour of cooking. But yeah, definitely say hey in the comments so I know you're here. Today we're going to do a couple of things. Let me get situated. Hey Jared, I hope you got your book. Jared was responsible for last week's episode about low nickel snacks. So check that one out if you need some ideas or you want to contribute some ideas in the comments, because we're always looking for good snack ideas. Hey Amanda. Hey Lisa. Chicken is one of my biggest reactions. Oh, that's so frustrating. Well, there's lots of other good kinds of broths, like a salmon broth or a beef broth, turkey broth. Oh, good. You love it, Jared. Awesome. Lisa, awesome to see you here, by the way. I'm really glad you're here. Amanda, JGD in Texas, man, I always have trouble with your name. You should give me another name. No, I'll try to do it. JGD. I mean, try and say that 10 times fast or whatever. It's hard. Connie, so thankful for your book and great information. Low nickel diet has really reduced my pain and improved my oxygen levels, which seem to be related to inflammation and possibly MCAS. Yeah. Connie, I'm really thankful to have you here too. It sounds like you're gonna give some good insight. I really tried for this week's episode to get as many people from the community as possible that have experience with this. Oh, hey Joan. I'm so excited to have you here. Or is it Joanne? I don't even know. I don't even know the answer to that. Joanne? No, it's probably Joanne. My niece's name is Joan. I think it's one of the best names in the world, but Joanne is cool too. Lisa, thank you. Judy in Texas. I hope I can remember that. But that's way easier to say. Yeah, so let me talk about what we're doing today. We already started the broth, so that's good. If you see it start boiling in the background, let me know, because sometimes I let it boil over and that's a disaster. Then I want to quickly talk about our community. I think it was last week or the week before, we talked about maybe doing kind of like a restart, a nickel detox. I don't like the term detox, but doing that together as a community, people who want to restart or start and give it a shot, and we can do it together. So I just want to talk about that a little bit and get some feedback from you guys how you would want it to go. And then if y'all have any questions that you want us to discuss briefly, we can do that. And then I have about like a 20-30 minute presentation about mast cell activation syndrome and its connection with nickel allergy. And like I said, I really tried to get people from the community who have experience with this that can contribute, because while I'm a physician, I'm a new physician and I'm a resident in pathology. So I don't usually spend one-on-one time with a patient. I'm doing the diagnosis part on the back end. So I don't diagnose MCAS. I would help diagnose other mast cell things that are like more serious, but MCAS is not something usually that a pathologist would be involved in. And I don't think that I personally had MCAS, so I can't speak to all those things. I can tell you scientifically and like medically from the literature, but I would like to hear from y'all's experience and advice. So thank you for being here if that's you. Okay. Good morning, Eleanor. Thank you for being here. I love your photo. That looks like a really pretty flower. Okay, so let's real quick, because every live I do offer a really great discount on my hardback. So if you would like a hardback version of the Low Nickel Diet Cookbook and Guide, it's a cookbook that will tell you how much nickel on average per serving of a recipe, so you don't have to calculate it yourself. And then it also has some information about how to start a low nickel diet and like what's like low, medium, and high nickel and all of that. It's a really good like first resource. That's why I wrote it, because this didn't exist when I was diagnosed. And all of these recipes are coming from the perspective of a low nickel diet that is more what I consider to be health promoting and focus on gut healing, because that's one of the biggest parts and problems in nickel allergy that is very slept on. But if you would like $12.99 off, go to my website, thelownickeldiet.com, and you can use this code MASTCELL today and on Monday as well to get $12.99 off your book. Can you get the GIs to stain for the mast cells more? Well, we do stain for mast cells. We use a couple of different stains. And it depends on the situation if they work or not. And sometimes once a mast cell has degranulated, it's hard to actually show up depending on what stain you use. This is like super pathology nerd stuff, but yeah. Connie, started in May, such a huge difference. I'm also allergic to gluten, dairy, mango, fragrance, so your list and cookbook are so helpful. I also use the Nickel Navigator app on my phone. Awesome. Yes, the Nickel Navigator and I use the same resources I use the Nickel Navigator, and I also use the paper, the most recent paper by the FDA to get an idea of nickel amounts. You're welcome, Linda. All right, so that's the book. If you guys want that, I'll try to remember to bring it up again later, but that's the cookbook. So, okay, so for the detox, I know several of you want to, I forgot who it was who brought it up, but now I've gotten some emails from some people that want to start as well. So since I'm getting married on Saturday, we're not starting yet. But we're going to start not next Sunday, but the Sunday after, February 22nd. And I know that everybody wants to kind of start fresh and maybe be a little bit more strict, because I know for myself there are some symptoms that have been popping up. I'm wondering if it has to do with the fact that I haven't been as strict on the low nickel diet for a while, like things like my nose running all the time, or what was another one I thought of recently? Like I've been getting some more like headaches. I've been getting, yeah. So I was like, maybe I have let things slide a little bit and I need to like get a little bit more strict. And some people would like to try it out, and they would like to do it kind of in a community setting. So I wanted to ask everyone, number one, if you're interested in joining, you can just join February 22nd to our live. We'll start it on February 22nd. If you want some additional things, or to be able to like respond to like a questionnaire that I might send, then email me at info@thelownickeldiet.com, and I'll put you on the list and so forth. But you don't need to do that. It doesn't cost money. You don't have to join anything. Like, you can just be here and be part of it. You do have to be subscribed to this channel to talk in the chat. That's the only thing that would be required. But anyway, if you want extra support or whatnot, there are some things that I've thought about doing, and I want to know from you guys what you want. Do you want, let's see, I put a list. Oh, like how long do you want to do it for? I know that according to the literature, like it should be, if you want to try to see if it will help you, then it's closer to like 3 months. 3 months is a long time. I don't know if that's something that you guys want to do it on a shorter span. I would recommend at least 4 weeks to try it together. So how long? Put that in the chat. Okay, Judy is down for the 22nd. Also, do you guys want to just do kind of like a check-in every Sunday and that's it? Do you want to have more of like a place to share ideas, like a community sort of thing? I can find something where we could do that. I could just create like a community post in YouTube, and you guys could respond to it and chat with each other there, so there wouldn't be like another application you'd have to worry about. Yeah, let me know what you guys want. I just want to show you one thing that I think would be fun. It's something that I use with my what's it called? My nutrition clients. So I don't do like doctor work, because I'm still in my first year of residency and I'm not allowed to do doctor work outside of my residency, but I do nutrition stuff. And so like for the low nickel diet, and what I do, let's see, desktop. What I do, I use this tool where it's kind of like a long survey, and it asks you about all your symptoms. And it will graph it out for you and give you an idea of like how bad each symptom is. And then, so you do it at the beginning, and then every 4 weeks you take it again, and then you can see the comparison on what things have improved, how much have they improved, maybe something else pops up, and it helps you target a little bit more, and also see like, oh, I forgot, like, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes you forget that you had an issue before, and so you forget that something has helped you. You know, you get used to your new normal. So this is something, like, I couldn't do it for 100 people, but I don't think we're gonna have like 100 people, like maybe 20 people. I could create an account for you. I could send you this, questionnaire, and then we could do it again together 4 weeks later. And if we do it longer, we could do it like 8 weeks, and then you can see the improvement in each area. I wouldn't be able to dive in with you like one-on-one, like what does this mean, what does that mean, what does that mean, but you'll be able to see if anything has improved over time, and that will help you determine if you're making the right choices, or if maybe this isn't the right thing for you, or maybe you need to tweak things in your diet. So I'm willing to do this for like maybe 25 people. Just email me, but it's very, very helpful to me and to a lot of people, and it would just show up in your email kind of like this. You would click, you would go, here, and it's like questions. You know, I'm female. It asks about like the things that you eat. It asks you about digestive symptoms. It asks you about mood symptoms. It asks you about energy, like everything. and it takes a while, but it's really worth, if you like data and tracking data, like I highly recommend it. So that's something that I'm willing to offer. Okay. Fate Hakthar, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Can I order the hard copy from Milan, Italy? You can on Amazon, and Amazon prints it and ships it to you, and I'm sorry, it's so expensive. Like I have no control over that. I did just update to be able to ship to England and Canada. I could try to update it to add Italy in there as well. I'd be willing to do that. Just email me, and then I can let you know when I've added that in there. I can do that today if you want. Just email me to remind me. So anyway, so that's something if you guys want to do that. And if you have feedback about how you want the like detox to go, then please leave it in the chat. Oh, it's boiling. It's boiling. Yeah, or email me, and I will email you guys all of that. All right. All right, let's get some coffee on. So how is everybody doing? How are your symptoms going? How long have you, who here has had mast cell activation syndrome, or has it? I think I saw Connie mentioned it, Lisa mentioned it. All right, well, let's dive in. Doctors believe that I have it. Okay. I have MCAS and hereditary alpha tryptophanemia syndrome, and the low nickel diet has made the biggest difference. Okay, awesome. I have an appointment with Dr. Ann Maitland at MUSC next month to be evaluated. Cool. Not officially. I might. Tests were inconclusive, but the meds help. No formal diagnosis. Yeah, I think that's pretty common. This is a very complex. I mean, the human body is so amazing and so complex, and the more that I learn, the more complicated I see that it is. Things are simple, but things are very complicated, and the more we learn, the more we see how things are so interconnected, which makes it so hard to like pull things out and say it's this one thing that is causing all of these problems. I think a lot more, it's multifactorial, it's many things that can influence each other to be more, if you're kind of sensitive in this thing and this other thing happens, it'll make you more sensitive, etc. And so it really muddies the water. And with mast cells, like, especially if we're diagnosing based off of like biopsies, you could be biopsying a certain part that doesn't have as many mast cells in that area right now, you know? Doctors seem to be conflicted on whether it's a thing as far as I've seen. Yeah, just like nickel allergy, systemic nickel allergy. Just realized nickel may be playing a role when I started thinking about getting a stent for May Thurners, and someone brought up nickel in the diet too. Yeah. SNAS. Amanda, SNAS is systemic nickel allergy syndrome, and we're actually going to talk about that in this presentation. because there's systemic nickel allergy, systemic nickel allergy syndrome. The systemic nickel allergy is something that is more supported in the literature, and that's because it's based on one thing. The syndrome is when there are multiple potential other symptoms that may be related, and the causality, like, is it the systemic nickel allergy that's causing the endometriosis, or is there endometriosis in a person that is being made worse by the nickel allergy, if that makes sense? So that connection is very difficult to prove, and there's not a lot of money going into proving that. Yeah, okay. Let's get started with this presentation. This is a very, like, intense slide. Okay. All right, so the intersection between mast cell activation syndrome and systemic nickel allergy. So let's talk about what mast cell activation syndrome is and systemic nickel allergy syndrome. But first, let's start with this cute little mast cell. So I like to talk about things in, like, in a way that, like, most people can understand, hopefully. So you've got all of these different immune cells that have these different jobs. They communicate with each other, they interact with each other, because some of them are better at certain things than other things, right? Some of them are really good at identifying, oh, hey, this is a bad guy, I think, and then running off and going to another cell that's really good at activating other cells. And it goes and tells that cell, hey, I think I found something bad. And that cell thinks, looks at it, says, I think you're right. And then sends out messages to other cells to help, right? So a mast cell is one of those initial reactors. So it's kind of like a security guard. And it lives in especially the tissues that face the outside. So your skin, your gut, your lungs. And it's kind of like a security guard. It's looking around, seeing if there are any pathogens, any problems that it needs to react to. And so it's trying to keep you safe from intruders. So yeah, so your skin, your stomach, your lungs. And then it has like a little, like little granules inside of it. And so, like, I use this thing called, like, it's got this little backpack that's full of all of these little granules. And these little granules, one of them is called histamine. There's several others, and they act as their own little signals to have other things occur. So if the mast cell sees something that it thinks is a problem, it's going to release out of its backpack all of these histamines and other granules that will start the process, and these reactions in the area. It may trigger communication to other immune cells, and it basically tells your body to, like, clean up. So it can make you sneeze, it can give you an itchy bump, it can make your tummy feel funny, it can cause edema in the area, so like having, like, fluid buildup in the area, and some of it is meant to, like, help keep the intruder from being able to harm you more. Some of it is just a signal. So that's what a mast cell is. So mast cell activation syndrome is when it's very complex, like we talked about before, but it's where the mast cells in your body are, like, very reactive. They're very sensitive little security guards. Like, maybe they've seen too much in their life and they've got a little PTSD. Okay, and so the definition is a varied group of disorders with inappropriate and excessive release of mast cell mediators like histamine, tryptase, and other cytokines. Cytokines is like an umbrella term for, like, little emails or little notes that are being sent telling everybody what's happening. And this causes, like, a chronic multi-system inflammation. And like we said, like, it can cause flushing and itching in the skin. It can cause GI distress. It can cause tachycardia, so your heart beating kind of fast. It can cause you to, like, get faint. It can cause brain fog, headache, anxiety. So how is it diagnosed? So you want clinical symptoms in 2 or more organ systems. So maybe you have the GI distress, and maybe you also get, like, hives. So that would be 2 different systems. There's lab evidence, so they'll check to see if you have elevated tryptase. So that's one of the things gets released from the backpack. Or an event-related rise, so exposure to what they think may cause the mast cell activation and see like a huge rise. And then like a urine for a specific metabolite. Also response to treatment. If you respond to treatment that targets the mast cell to not to degranulate or to be more stable, then that's a sign that that was part of your problem. So there's like a treatment hierarchy. They'll start with H1 and H2 blockers. So those are like typical types of allergy medications people would have. Then there's leukotriene inhibitors. Leukotriene is like part of the signaling process. And then mast cell stabilizers. So this is like the cromolyn that people will talk about. And then after that, they would do biologics, which are very powerful medications and have a lot of side effects. And hopefully you would never have to get to that point and we can address the root cause instead. So what is systemic nickel allergy syndrome? So that is where there's a systemic immune response to nickel, not just on the skin, but also systemically. So from consuming or breathing in even nickel, when you consume water or food that has a lot of nickel in it, when you and you're sensitized, or if your lungs are sensitized and you breathe in a lot of nickel dust or pollution that has a lot of nickel in it, your lungs and your gut are actually a lot closer to the immune cells. They're a lot closer to your systemic like circulation, your blood and all of that. So if you are sensitized, it's a lot easier for that to trigger the systemic response. So what like historically people have known about for a long time is the cutaneous, like on the skin response to nickel. So like I had response to nickel as a child on my skin, so contact dermatitis to nickel, so earrings and all of that. Like that's why I don't wear jewelry, even though I keep trying and it's a problem. It's stupid. I need to find jewelry that is like nickel free that I like. I've just never put in the time. It does exist. But so that's like a very common, and I think the percentage is like over 20% of the population actually has this, and it's growing because of the amount of nickel pollution and nickel in our food and everything. And then a percentage of those people will also develop a systemic response to nickel. And that's what happened to me later in life. So I did have digestive issues as a teenager that I got an endoscopy. I went to gastroenterologists and they told me it was like in my head, it was growing pains. They didn't see anything. And that makes sense because it's an inflammatory reaction. So you may see a little bit of inflammation. As a pathologist, I've looked at these biopsies to diagnose stuff all the time, and you see like you see the inflammatory cells in there, but that's just seeing inflammation. Like you could get inflammation from taking some aspirin, so you can't make a diagnosis from that. But the inflammatory response is there. And then after a brain injury was when I started getting dyshydrotic eczema on my hands so bad that I couldn't use them anymore. And that's how eventually I finally found systemic nickel allergy. I started eating a low nickel diet, and that is how it finally started clearing up and my digestive issues were getting a ton better. So other potential symptoms that can be part of this systemic nickel allergy syndrome that people talk about is it where it's not just on your skin, or it's not just in your gut, but you may have other symptoms like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, burning mouth syndrome, endometriosis, interstitial cystitis. There are a lot of things that have been connected with systemic nickel allergy, but like I've said many times, it's really difficult to show causality there. What I think is important is that if you eat a low nickel diet and you find your symptoms are getting better, like there may have just been, like you're doing the right thing because you're helping yourself, right? But like it's possible that some of these things like endometriosis, you already had that, or you already had the weakness or tendency in your body, and the systemic inflammation caused by your nickel sensitivity, because what happens is your body creates a systemic inflammatory response that goes all over your body. If you have a weak area, that's going to get worse because of the amount of inflammatory response going in your body. And that's very true for endometriosis. It's very inflamed by inflammation, right? You want to keep your inflammation down so you don't have as bad endometriosis. Okay, I've been seeing lots of talking in the chat, so I just want to see what's going on. Oh, Connie has to leave for church. Okay, Connie, please comment in the live if you have thoughts or experiences to share, later when you're watching it. Every symptom that you mentioned, I was having them growing up, but no doctors ever found the root cause. When I moved to Milan, the doctors found out I'm allergic to nickel. Yeah, Italy is such a great place for nickel allergy because all of the great research is done there at Sapienza. I used to joke with my boyfriends that I could tell if you buy me fake jewelry. I love it. That's hilarious. I have to leave for... Oh, wait, I already did that one. Okay. I have earrings I've worn 24/7 for almost a year from Pandora. I'm going to be 60, and knock on wood, these aren't bothering me. Okay, Pandora. I'll have to check that out. Yeah. I'm lazy when it comes to jewelry, and I think it's all because as a kid, I would try to wear jewelry and it would cause problems. You know how, things like that you don't realize cause you to make choices later on. I think that's why. Same on jewelry. Been thinking about trying to get my rings dipped in rhodium. Oh, I haven't heard of that. My allergist joked about the same thing. Okay. It can also, however, be that going low nickel eliminates something else that you're either allergic to or that you don't have the enzymes to process, like fructans for exist. Yes, 100%. You're totally right, Eleanor. Okay, so let's make sure that I've covered systemic nickel allergy. Okay, so something that comes up a lot is oh, I got a patch test and I didn't patch test positive for nickel. Does that mean that I don't have systemic nickel allergy? No, that doesn't mean that. It just means that you don't have the dermatologic response. But you can absolutely have the response systemically without showing it on your skin. It's just people don't understand that. Do you react to your glasses? I realized my glasses were making my face rash worse. Oh, interesting. I do not, but mine are all plastic, I think. Okay, so that's systemic nickel allergy. So you got mast cells, mast cell activation syndrome. So your mast cells are super sensitive. They got PTSD. I hope it's okay that I'm using that term lightly. I probably shouldn't. But yeah, so your mast cells are super sensitive. Then you have potentially developed a sensitivity to nickel. So the treatment for systemic nickel allergy, I've already talked about. You do a patch test to diagnose. It may not always be the right thing. There's something called an oral mucosal patch test. I've never heard of anyone in the United States having this. If you have, please let me know, because I would like more people to have access to this. I would like to have access to it. I need to figure out how to source it or something. But let me know. There's also something called a lymphocyte transformation test. This is not validated by the FDA yet or approved to be used for this allergy. I want to do a lot more research on it. There are some problems with the test, with its sensitivity and specificity. I will do a live all about testing in the very near future. I just want to really educate myself about it first. This is not something that I have personally used. I know other people have used it successfully. I'm not saying it's not the right test to use. It just hasn't been properly validated yet in comparison to other tests. But like I said, a patch test is validated, but that I don't think it's actually super specific to the systemic nickel allergy. Okay, low nickel diet. So this is also something people don't understand. And Dr. Nederost, she is one of the world's leading experts in this. I talked with her at a conference and she told me that you can diagnose this 100% without a patch test, without whatever, but with using symptomology, actually having a low nickel diet and monitoring the symptoms, you can your practitioner can diagnose with just your response to a low nickel diet. So you do the low nickel diet, which is safe, cheap, and non-invasive, which is what we want in medicine. And if your symptoms are improving in 4 to 6 weeks, like obviously they're probably not going to be completely gone. They definitely weren't for me, but the cycles got a lot better and started going like my outbreaks weren't as bad, and the cycles got slower and slower, and I had more time in between. And then eventually, completely went away. I think the last time I had a little bit of something on right here on my, like a little bit of an outbreak right here, but it never like got out to the skin. That was like within the last year once. So, all right. So that's SNAS and mast cell activation. So how are these connected? The rapid paradox and the innate bridge. So nickel allergy is technically a type 4 hypersensitivity, which is a delayed response. And that's why people get confused. Like, how is it that I know I have this allergy, but I get this response right away? And it's because the mast cell is an innate, immediate responder. And nickel does not have to trigger your T cells, so that's another immune cell, to then tell the mast cells to freak out. The nickel actually is able to connect with innate immune cells like a mast cell immediately. It can just attach to the mast cell and the mast cell will degranulate. It will freak out, especially if it's super sensitive. So that's why you can have a more immediate reaction after eating, even though this is a delayed hypersensitivity. And nickel can do that not just to mast cells, but to other cells as well that are innate responders. So that's why that can happen. So yeah, this question, why do patients report immediate itching or GI cramping after eating? That is that immediate response of the nickel crossing the barrier and, connecting with the mast cell and the mast cell degranulating and some of your other cells there also freaking out and being activated immediately. That nickel will also eventually make its way to the T cell, and the T cell will be like, oh, now we gotta respond. And that delayed response will also occur. So that's why you have the immediate and the delayed in people who are now sensitized. And this is the name of one of the things, like, so you've got the cell, and cells they develop these kind of signs that they stick up outside of themselves to say who they are, what they're looking for, or if you want to communicate with me, hold hands with me. And a TLR4 is one of those things that sticks up outside of the cell, and it will grab onto things. Nickel will bind to it. You don't need to know which histidine residues, but there it is. This triggers the NF-kappa B pathway, which is an inflammatory signal pathway, causing other immune cells to release other cytokines. It lists them here, like IL-1 beta, IL-6, and alarmins, IL-33. Like we talked about in my previous immune cell lecture about the immune response, these are all signals that are sent to your body to cause systemic inflammation. And like I said, nickel directly can do that. It doesn't have to go through other immune cells. So the key takeaway, chronic nickel exposure keeps mast cells in a primed state, lowering the threshold for MCAS reactions. So if you have discovered or you think that you might have a sensitivity to nickel and you also have mast cell activation syndrome, you really, really, really want to focus on reducing your nickel, because nickel is going to be an obvious potential trigger. And also, excuse me, nickel could probably do this without you having a nickel hypersensitivity. And so that's where the gut barrier and keeping your gut health as good as possible is so important, not just with systemic nickel allergy, like I harp on all the time, but also with mast cell activation syndrome, because anything that could potentially trip up your mast cells, you want to reduce. And if your gut barrier is too open and not healthy, and your microbiome is out of balance, then it's going to be more likely that more nickel gets through. The angiogenesis loop, this is a part that I didn't talk about a ton that is relevant to systemic nickel allergy as well. But these types of inflammatory responses, especially with mast cell activation syndrome, the mast cells will release what's called VEGF, and VEGF is a signal to your capillaries, to your blood vessels, to build more pathways. It wants to increase the flow. It wants to increase, because it's like, man, we're just getting an onslaught all the time of these intruders. You know, the mast cell's overreacting and telling the body, like, we really need to be ready all the time to fight all these intruders that keep happening. And so then more little highways and more little roads will be built to your lungs, to your skin, to your gut lining, to allow more immune responders to get there faster, which then creates this like vicious cycle of a higher response, a higher symptom burden. Hence why, I'm going to keep saying it, focusing on gut healing is so crucial for this and for like histamine intolerance, for everything. It's like so foundational. And that's basically what I just said. The vicious cycle of gut permeability. Nickel ingestion irritates the mucosa. Mast cells release tryptase. They release histamine. They release all of these cytokines, these little granules out of their backpack. And then tryptase will unzip the gut barrier. So between, like, sorry, I keep doing this. So like, here's an enterocyte, here's an enterocyte. Enterocytes are the cells that line your gut. And there are little zippers that zip them together nice and tight and only allows certain things through, certain nutrients, etc., and tries to keep things out that it doesn't want. But when you have bad sleep, when you have unbalanced microbiome, when you have inflammation, when you are like exercising really high intensity, when you are super stressed, when you eat gluten, this is one of the biggest ones, when you eat any gluten at all, it will unzip that space between your enterocytes and will allow more things through. So you want to do everything in your power to keep these closed and nice and healthy and only allowing what is good through, right? And so that will increase the amount of nickel. It'll increase the amount of pathogens. It'll increase the amount of things you don't want getting through, creating more systemic reactions, creating more mast cell activation. So these are separate syndromes. These are separate issues, systemic nickel allergy and mast cell activation. But obviously you can see how having this allergy can prime the mast cells that are already going to be more responsive to be even more responsive. So here are like what I consider some of the top 5 things you could do to reduce the symptom burden. And this is where I would love to hear from all of you, other things you have done more specifically that have helped. So like I said, the low nickel diet, that you want to reduce high nickel foods like soy, oats, nuts, chocolate, whole wheat, gluten, please. Keep that out, at least at first. And keep it below 150 micrograms. If you need help with that, I do have a free PDF on my website, thelownickeldiet.com, to get lists of low, medium, and high nickel foods. There's also an app called the Nickel Navigator that you can use if you like to use apps like that. So try to eat a low or no, like a gluten-free, high iron, low nickel diet. Filter your water. I'm going to be doing a whole live on all of your filtration options and hydration, how important it is, all of that. Also very important for good gut health. The greatest source of nickel contamination is actually your water. So you want to make sure you're filtering that. You want to focus on gut health, like I've harped on over and over again. Getting good sleep, reducing stress. I would say like that, those things would probably be the most impactful, biggest bang for your buck thing. Like, don't focus so much on a bunch of little annoying details. Focus on those like solid, most foundational things, and that's gonna get you like the most far, especially if you're under a lot of symptom burden. Vitamin C, you can take vitamin C with your meals, and that will grab onto nickel, and you'll just poop it out. Not all of it, obviously, but vitamin C attaches onto the nickel and makes it too big to be able to cross the gut barrier. It also will help activate the iron that you are consuming, and it will help that iron be easier to absorb. So that's like a dual purpose. And the reason I didn't talk about iron as much here, so let me just say really quick, this is a bigger deal than I originally thought, but iron is huge. If you are low in iron, there's a transporter called the DMT1 transporter. It transports iron, but it also transports nickel, and they compete for transport across your gut lining into your bloodstream. If you are low in nickel, your body will upregulate, will make more of these transporters because it's trying to get more it's trying to get more iron. But if you're not eating iron, then all the nickel you're eating is going to be more likely to cross. So try and increase your iron intake, cook with a cast iron, eat amazing red meats that have very bioavailable nutrients. Do not be afraid of red meat. It can be very, very good for you. And it's very good for us that are nickel allergic. Mast cell stabilization. So these are like definitely like talk with your doctor if they want to give you a mast cell stabilizer. That's great. Something else that you can supplement, quercetin or PEA. They'll help down modulate mast cells. According to the literature, if you go to my website under supplement, so you go resources, supplements, I have some of these supplements on there. And the PEA supplement that I just added, that is supposed to be like a pretty high quality one. But if people have recommendations for other ones or other supplements that they take, definitely put them in the comments. So let's see what people have been saying. Hey, Stephanie. Oh man, you guys have been really popping off in here. Oh, crafters. Okay, I'm gonna come back to that. I love crafting. I loved you mentioned exercise. It was triggering me big time. Yeah. High intensity exercise. It actually does create gut permeability. I'm sorry to say. It's stress. Like just like high stress also does, so does high intensity. So a low or moderate intensity is good. I think in some ways you could also make the argument that a lot of sweating could be triggering. And that's because especially people with the dyshydrotic eczema as your main symptom of systemic nickel allergy. So one of the ways that your body tries to get rid of heavy metals and nickel is through sweat. And on the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet is where the highest, by far, concentration of those sweat glands exist. And so that's why, and also there's like a specific layer on your skin that you don't have anywhere else on your body that's like an extra layer that also traps nickel in as well. So the nickel's trying to get out, but it's also getting stuck. And so your body might be excreting a lot of nickel from the sweat that will then make your immune cells in those areas upset. So that could increase your symptom burden in that moment, but you could also argue that that's helping you release the nickel that is in your body. So I've never been able to decide whether or not sweating can be a good thing or not, but that's why that happens. I replaced all pots and pans, switched to ceramic tumblers, low nickel diet, vitamin C, and L-reuteri, and had to stop exercising. Yeah, the L-reuteri is really good for balancing the microbiome a little bit. And research has shown that that particular strain of bacteria is helpful for people with systemic nickel allergy. So there must be something about it that helps. I don't know the mechanism. If anybody does, let me know. Why? Okay, so I answered that question. I have had IV iron infusions and blood transfusions in the past. Now I have ITP. Oh, okay. Immune thrombocytic purpura. Any truth to NAC being helpful? Someone mentioned that to me recently. Oh, N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine. It's good for cellular energy, which as we age, we need more and more of. It's good for mitochondrial health. I don't know. I'll have to look into that as far as this is concerned. I mean, with systemic inflammation, you are tiring all your cells out for sure. So it's good to replace that. I would definitely focus on other things first, all of the foundational things first. And then if you're trying to optimize even more, that may be something to look into. I get weekly vitamin C infusions for chronic vitamin C deficiency, and oral vitamin C upsets my gut. Am I correct in thinking the vitamin C infusions do nothing for the nickel problem? I don't know if they would do nothing for it, but they would be working with a different mechanism than the consuming vitamin C with your food. Because when you're getting an infusion of vitamin C, it's going into your bloodstream. And when you are taking the vitamin C with your food, you're basically trying to grab onto the nickel before it gets into your bloodstream. So when you're getting vitamin C infusions, I'm not sure whether or not it would be able to chelate onto the nickel at that point. The biochemistry of that I'm uncertain of, because I'm not sure what is transporting the nickel around in the bloodstream. If it's already attached onto something at that point and the vitamin C isn't going to attach to it anymore, I'm not sure. But vitamin C is excellent for immune health. It's excellent for hair, skin, and nail health. So I'm sure, if you need vitamin C, great. I don't take vitamin C almost ever anymore with my food. There are other chelators you can use. You can definitely like a cilantro, parsley. Those are also natural chelators of heavy metals. Or you can just eat a very, very low nickel diet and focus on other things. You don't have to do the vitamin C. But for example, let's say you want to have a little bit of chocolate. Take a little vitamin C with it, and that will help you chelate some of that nickel out. I'm not used to talking this much. I'm a pathologist. We just look at the microscope, read our reports. Excuse me. Okay, so if anybody else has any personal experiences or feedback about what can help people with the situation, please let us know. Here are my references. This is like a shortened version of the reference. I did try to put the full references in the notes of this video. I do mostly ketovore when I'm not cheating. Awesome. Yeah, I definitely do the very best when I am eating only meat and animal products. 100% in every way, I feel better. My brain works better. It's just hard to maintain. Yeah. But in conclusion, next Sunday we're not going to have live because I will be on my honeymoon. And that will be awesome. But the Sunday after is February 22nd, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We will have another live, and that will be kind of like starting over, all the basics of getting started. I'm going to do a whole thing. If you want to be part of it, just join the live. If you want to be even more detail-y part of it and take the symptom burden quiz and all that kind of stuff, send me an email, info@thelownickeldiet.com, and I will put you on the list. If we end up creating a community area, I'll let you know as well. Definitely, if you have other questions, feel free to email me. And don't forget that there's a $12.99 discount on hardbacks right now with discount code MASTSELL, all caps. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Joan. Thank you so much for being here today. And yeah, if you're watching afterwards, say hi in the comments. Tell us how things are going. And I will see you guys on the 22nd. Bye.